welcome to episode 9 of the Neurodivergent podcast. My name is Jannice Jones and I'm the host of this podcast. I'm your neurodivergent positive psychologist. And today I am joined by the wonderful and dynamic neurodiverse chef Tzarina Mace Ralph, hot from her time on Below Decks, which was really well received reality TV show. And so, hi, Tzarina, great that you're here.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I've been waiting for this for so long now. I'm so excited.
I know, it's amazing how we actually got to speak to each other, because one of the people that I coach said to me, I've been watching this program and I love it, and you need to speak to Chef Tzarina because she's fantastic. So hence I reached out to you and here we are.
Yeah, and she was messaging me like, you've got to watch her stuff. Trust me, you have to speak to her. I was like, okay, she's obviously ADHD with the amount of messages. I was like, my same sort of person.
Absolutely. So we got there in the end. So, welcome. So tell us a little bit about you and, are you neurodivergent? How does that neurodiversity show itself? Is it something you've always known or was it a recent thing?
Yeah, so I was basically put through testing in school for everything because it was very obvious that I didn't fit into like the normal social norm of what society and what you're meant to be like at school. Like I think my mother, every time she walked out of to pick me up from kindergarten and school, she'd just basically go in apologizing to parents constantly, like, what has she done this time? I'm and so yeah, she tested me for everything. She told me I was dyslexic and I knew I was extremely dyslexic, and she had to tell me I was, because until the age of about 14, when I used to see people writing, I used to be like, I almost felt like I was in the Truman Show. When people were speaking in different languages as well, I'd be like, because my brain just couldn't catch up to that. I was always really confused, like, well, why can't I do it then? Like, if everyone else can around me. And my mother didn't tell me I was ADHD or anything else. And actually, recently, because I was back home, and I've been noticing some other quirks and stuff. But my therapist said it can also be part of my ADHD. But I did like walk through my front door and open the door like this, and I was like, Mother, am I autistic as well? I was like, on top of everything else, like just, my obsession with pens. And when I get things, I'm like,
Yes.
I have to have a certain shaped notebook and stuff, and many other things. Like, I recently was actually in a pen shop, and I was there getting great satisfaction after trying all the pens until I found the perfect one. Went home and I let my housemate try it once. And then I was like, but this is mine. But at least
Yeah,
you got to try it. But this is my pen. And slowly things are beginning to add up. But
absolutely.
my therapist said, like, you can go get tested for autism. But, my biggest tool for being neurodivergent is my therapist, because my whole life I've been, I guess, always wanting to be someone else. I step into jobs and I'm like, you're just going to go in and you're going to be normal and you're just going to put your head down and you're going to work. It's just new people. You're going to be fine. And as soon as I step through the door, it's like a bull in a china shop. And I'm just like, wow. And just like, me, talk about me, tell me about you. Oh, I'm going to talk over you. La, 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 la. And I'm home that night, it's like, what? Like, that was me trying, and now my therapist is basically getting to a stage of me over, I think, more over the last 4 years. Not very good with timelines, as you probably can guess.
Yeah.
Always get timelines and dates mixed up, which has got me into trouble recently, actually, like a lot of trouble. And I had to really apologize to someone. They haven't replied to me. I was like, yeah, that was my bad. But my therapist is basically teaching me and guiding me in a way that, do I really need to be tested? Or can I just accept that this is me? I have my quirks, I have my tools, and I'm understanding myself more. And do I really need a piece of paper to tell me what I am.
That's it. And when we're working with neurodivergent clients, I mean, I'm neurodivergent, both my children are neurodivergent, but when we're working with neurodivergent clients at Jannice Jones Coaching, we always say to people, think of neurodiversity as a family of conditions. So you said as a child, you were diagnosed with dyslexia, and yet you can see quite clearly traits of ADHD, autism, and I really got you on the pen thing and the notebooks. It's like, it has to feel right. If it doesn't feel right, I can't use it. I'm 100% with you on that.
I can't do it. And when people like hand me a pen, like, oh, do you mind writing this down? I'm like,
it's horrible,
what is
isn't
this
it?
peasant pen you give me? I need a nice squishy ball at the end. How dare you?
It has to be the right,
Yeah, it does.
everything, not
Like
just
thickness as
feel,
well.
but the size of it. And I know, and it can't have sides or sticky bits,
Oh, no,
or
no, no, that would
it
freak me
has to
out.
be round. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I
And
100%
this is
believe
another like sensory things are
it's
really
sensory.
big. Yeah, because like I even though I'm a chef, this is gonna sound terrible. And if I ever do, I'm a celebrity, get me out of here. They're probably gonna make me do this now. But yeah, I can't stand sticky things. Like if I get a bit of honey on me anywhere, it's like, you know, when the cat goes into water and
Yes.
it's like as soon as I have something sticky on me, I'm like inside dying. And also, which doesn't help with being a chef, is yeah, stainless steel.
Okay.
I hate it.
Yeah.
Hate it. And the last season of Below Deck, I filmed the whole kitchen with stainless steel head to toe. I remember walking in like, just pretend it's fine. Just pretend it's fine. And inside I was like generally dying. And you can
Horrible.
see like I'm wearing gloves most of the time when I'm
Yeah.
cooking because even touching the surfaces, I hate it.
No, I hear you. I hear you. So, like you, it's like, it doesn't really matter about the piece of paper. It doesn't matter about what type of neurodivergence. You just know that, there is neurodivergence there. So if you were to look back on your life and your career, how do you think, because think about it, that the people listening to this podcast can be at all different stages of their life and where they are in relation to their neurodiversity. There might be some who are younger who are listening and going, well, how can I possibly make my way in the world because my brain doesn't work like other people? And some people are late diagnosed and thinking, my goodness, this has been affecting me all my life. So if I was to ask you, how has your neurodivergence affected you, and how do you think that plays out in what you do today or the choices that you made in your career?
I've actually been thinking a lot about this recently with new projects and things coming in that I just feel so lucky that these opportunities might be coming up for me. And
Yeah.
also, obviously, stepping into TV in the last 3 years. But I feel like my story is actually, I wouldn't say sad, but I guess maybe other people could relate to it because I genuinely think because every single teacher at school and every single kid told me I would be nothing. You know, I had teachers tell me, oh, you're lucky you're pretty because you're just very rich. I had a teacher say to me when I asked them to slow down in class because I couldn't follow how fast he was going,
Yeah.
he said, don't worry, you don't have to listen. You can sell Big Issue in the corner of your life.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was just
Pouring.
constantly put down and told, oh, she'll be fine. Like she'll marry rich. Oh, she'll figure it out. You know, and always put down and put down constantly. And so many negative things like, oh, it's just Tzarina. Oh, just, like, And I think something just switched in my brain being like, no,
No.
I'm not going to let that put me down. That's going to drive me further. And every time I do get put down, it almost like, and still today, some fire sparks inside me, and I'm like, oh, you want to push me down? Like,
Yes.
watch me succeed. Because
Yeah.
ADHD people, like, I'm so glad my mother didn't tell me I was ADHD or put me on medication Even though I had like a huge identity crisis and never fit in and didn't understand why, maybe it might have helped my teenage years more, especially going through puberty and like, you know, feeling very isolated apart from my one or two friends I had, but never having a group. But I'm so glad she didn't put me on the medication, because why do people who are so creative have to be forced to sit in a classroom for 8 hours a day and be expected to work, and we have to dull our sparkle? Why don't the what's considered the norm and the normal people, why don't you put sunglasses on if we're shining too bright? Like just find what our niche is. And this is what I did. I failed and failed and failed at so many things. I was a high school dropout. No one ever thought I'd do anything. And I just kept trying different things. And suddenly my hands found cooking. And something just clicked inside me. And I was like, I've got it. It's cooking. And then by the time I was 21, I was a head chef in a restaurant. Because with my ADHD superpower, as soon as I get focused on something, then that's it. Like, I want to be the best. I'm gonna try my very, very best. I'll never be the best. But it's just like this kind of thing of like, you know, anytime people put me down, I'm like, all right, well, I'm gonna show you then.
But you know, just looking back to, and I hear this all the time when I'm coaching people, which is, you know, that they've gone into that school situation, that classroom situation. If they've got, like you, dyslexia, then they're going to have a processing delay. There is a processing delay because of how the dyslexic brain works. It's nothing to do with IQ or ability or, you know, the ability to learn. It's that you learn in a slightly different way, but it doesn't mean you can't learn. And it just breaks my heart, because, you know, I hear these stories every day as a coach and see the negative consequences and the negative self-belief and the self-talk and the you know, giving up before they've even started. And none of it is down to them. It's down to the teacher or the society or whatever it is, you know. And it's horrific, because it's still going on today. If we were talking about, oh, well, that's what it used to be like, but it's actually still going on today.
Well,
and it does break my heart.
This is a huge reason why I think I only have 3 friends who have their kids in normal school. Otherwise, all my friends are homeschooling.
Yeah, I know. My granddaughter's being homeschooled for the same reason, exactly that. It's like, it doesn't fit so many children. It doesn't.
No, it doesn't. It just, that societal norm, just for me, just school was hell. But something I have noticed is when I did go back home last year, this isn't me gloating or putting people down, but I found it interesting that all the people that thrived at school and all the people were good and all the people who had rich families, like, I went back home and they're still in the same place doing the same thing with a really low class job, kind of stuck in a village. And I was the person that they all said that I'll be nothing. And I'm like, I've almost traveled around the whole world now.
Amazing.
You know,
and I love the fact that you've got that spirit that goes, you put me down and I'll come back fighting, you know, which is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So what sorts of things do you think, based on your neurodivergent profile, that sort of helped you to get through those challenges in terms of work, not in terms of school now, but in terms of work? What do you think were the things you've mentioned, you know, that I'm going to make it work, I'm not going to stop until I do? So that sort of fighting spirit. But what else do you think helped you to firstly find your niche that you loved, or niche, whatever they call it in America? It drives me mad, that word. It drives me mad. It's like, you can't call it like, because you don't call Keese a kitcher, you know. It's a niche. Anyway, let's not go there. Words are my thing. So what do you think it was that helped you as a hack, as an ability to be able to take your neurodivergent traits and make them work for you? What do you think it was that helped you to do that?
To tell the truth, from 14 years, well, from younger, I was in normal therapy. From 14 years old, I was in NLP therapy, and I was already having hypnotherapy in my late teens.
Yeah.
So for me, it was finding the tools that way.
Yes.
like therapy really has saved me.
Yeah,
But also through therapy, not being, and this is through NLP as well, changing the way that my brain would think.
absolutely.
I now kind of get more excited about failing,
Great. Yeah.
you know,
Fail
so
forward, as we say,
yeah.
fail forward.
And I
100%.
think also like ADHD people as well, it's almost like with toxic friendships or losing people and stuff, like we don't feel bad about it, but like if we haven't messaged you in a month, it's probably because we have actually forgotten about you,
Yeah.
right? Like completely,
Yeah.
you know. And so like when I fail, I'm like, okay, so these are the bits that I failed at. Okay, perfect. I maybe have like a day panic, and then I might have like a burnout crash, and then I might, you know, feel really depressed and like, oh, maybe for a few days, and suddenly this fire sparks back up inside me, and I go like, okay, I need to find all the faults in that. I'm going to go back and I'm going to do it better until I get it right. And this has been happening a lot, mainly over the last 4 years as well,
Great. So
because
it's looking for those growth opportunities. So it's a
yeah.
bit like having a growth mindset or a fixed mindset, isn't it? With a growth mindset, we expect to fail. We
Yeah,
expect
well, that's it.
to
Because we
have
failed so
feedback.
much in people's eyes as children. Like I failed at everything at school, failed at most things at home, failed at all my relationships. You know, that now like failing is a bit like, oh, there it goes again. Next, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. It's a learning
It's almost
opportunity,
like
isn't
a numbness to it now. And like over maybe that's a bit psychotic actually.
it?
I do have lots of feelings. I overthink, but I also think that using my ADHD superpower of, I call it mind reading, that I step into a room and I know exactly what everyone's feeling in that room, that moment, and how to act and adapt myself around certain people,
Yeah,
which really helps with meetings. And that took a lot of, you know, digging within, purifying myself, a lot of spiritual stuff, a lot of release, a lot of release of trauma, a lot of
absolutely.
it, to try and make myself a better person, to then help be more empathic, because ADHD people are very empathic, and that's why we let a lot of toxic people into our life. But then it's being empathic and setting boundaries, which the last 3 years setting boundaries has been a huge one for me. And I even like a few months ago just went on like a deleting spree of like, you know, if these people don't put me on a pedestal like I put them on, then I don't want them in my life, and just ended up deleting them,
Yeah,
you know, because I didn't have many friendships as a child. So as an adult, when I feel like I've got a friend, I'm like, I'll do anything for them, you know? And I just feel like if I don't get that respect back, which I don't half the time, because ADHD people are like on steroids when it comes to friendships, like little, you know, excited puppies, like, oh, we're best friends now. You know, I'm going to tell my mum. So
but it's you mentioned boundaries, but they are really, really important, aren't they?
they are, and I'm
Really
learning
important.
more and more now. And my therapist is getting tougher and tougher with me.
Yeah,
She really
great.
is. And I also, as well, like sometimes before, like blocking people out my life now, I say to them, like I've just had a therapy session and I just need to step back. So I'm going to block you for a moment while I do my healing. Like it's recommended by my therapist. I just need to do this for myself. And in a spiritual way, I do feel like the more negative things and people I get out my life, it makes room for all the better things to come in. And I've been really
Absolutely.
seeing it recently,
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
really seeing it. And yeah, I was so nervous about going on TV being neurodivergent. And it was so like, I feel like I hid it quite well my first season. But they caught a clip of me the season that's just come out, when I think my sous chef asked me like 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 what she say? She said, what do you think about when you're chopping food or something? And I was like, oh, I think of everything. I was like, I'm ADHD. I'm like, I'm thinking about every single thing, like not only about every single dish on timings in the oven, but I'm also thinking about what happened earlier, what happened when I was 13 years old, and what might happen in the future, and all the failures that could happen ahead of time.
Yeah,
You know, and she was like, I think of nothing.
that's right.
And I was like, you are so lucky.
Yeah.
But
Well, because the brain has got like, it's got all different sorts of modes, but from a neuroscience perspective, I love the fact that now in neuroscience, they can actually see what happens in the ADHD brain and the neurodivergent brain. That when neurotypical brains are in that task mode network, when they're doing the chopping the onions or whatever, that's all that's happening in their brain, which seems like that's incredible, because somebody with ADHD like us is a million other things. So we've still got the default mode network with all those thoughts and ideas and inner voice and criticism and don't forgets, and we've got all that going on at the same time that we're in the task mode network. And people who are neurotypical, incredibly, they don't have that. Their brains don't do that. They're either one or the other. And yet for us, we have to have both at the same
Yeah.
time, which can make life difficult and really interesting, can't it?
Yeah, it is, because when it works and it's in full mode and you're being productive, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But then when you're having burnout, it's almost like you feel depression a million times harder because your brain's working overtime and you're in bed and your brain just doesn't stop. And even when you're sleeping, it's normally nightmares. You know, I actually had to wake myself up from a nightmare at 4 o'clock this morning, being like, oh, I'm getting to burnout stage soon. Like, shake it off, shake it off.
Yeah.
But
I must admit, as I've got older, that has got a lot better. I mean, I
yeah,
can sleep now. I can. Magnesium glycinate, check it out, people with GPs and everything can.
yeah,
Magnesium glycinate can really help, but and melatonin for some people really helps. But
yeah, I do. I've got this new incredible hormone doctor that's trying to help me out with some other personal things, and she's put me on magnesium and also melatonin, but she does it to like they take my blood, they weigh me and everything, and every single tablet and hormone that I take is specifically designed for me and only me.
there you go, fantastic,
Yeah.
absolutely fantastic. So, what do you think in terms of messages of hope to other people who, like you said, I grew up in exactly the same way of always feeling different, not feeling, I mean, I might have had one friend for a period of time, but then something would happen or whatever. And it's just always that internal feeling of, I'm not the same as everybody else in my family. I don't fit into the world out there. I just don't fit. There's something different, and it was difficult being inside of my head. What message of hope would you give to others who are maybe feeling that at whatever age they are?
Oof. I just, I don't know, because I feel like I'm still in the middle of it. You know, I still have really dark, down, depressing times that I struggle to get myself out of. But for me, it's having a great therapist and having a clean gut is really important. That's what also one of the projects I'm working on at the moment is a gut cleanse for people to have.
Great.
But also just, it's never going to be as bad as it was in the past.
Yeah.
And the future is exactly what you make it. And I do believe that there's two paths you can take in life, and there's a hard one and there's an easy one. And it's just taking a deep breath and actually thinking, is this toxic for me? Even though this one, isn't doing anything for my dopamine, it's not doing anything for my oxytocin. Like, this is boring to me.
Yeah.
But this one's going to give you that thrill and drive. Like, just really start to learn to respect yourself and love yourself and go for the boring option.
Yeah. And that's it, isn't it? Because all of us are, I mean, I burnt out in my 50s. All of us are, veer towards burnout quite a lot. We can have cyclical burnout as ADHDers. But that's where, for me, that and the people that I work with, that self-care stuff, that understanding that we have a certain amount of energy, and I can either put it into woo, whizzy bangy, woo, over here, and get a quick, hit from it, a dopamine hit, or I can take the softer, gentler option where I am able to practice that self-care as well.
Yeah.
And it might seem a lot less whizzy bangy, and
Mm.
but over the long term, it really can help us, can't it?
No, it can. And also my therapist for me for the last 5 years, because I used to numb myself with alcohol a lot.
Yeah.
I really did, especially if I knew I was getting to like, I get really brokenhearted by things and things affect me badly, but you can't normally tell because I don't like to show it. But inside I'm like
Yeah.
broken, but I don't like to show it because people, when I have a straight face, people don't know what's happening in here. But my therapist has been teaching me is like the hardest moments you have, those are the moments that you don't touch alcohol, and you have to sit in your pain and love it and appreciate it and be thankful for the fact that, I'm here on earth. I'm allowed to feel all these emotions and my body's giving me warning signs. And there's a reason why I'm feeling these emotions. And I will only drink alcohol if I'm in like a really good place in my life. And I've actually found that it helps my hangovers more. That if I'm happy and have like 4 espresso martinis, the next day I'll be able to get up, start my day, have a good day. If I'm depressed and have 4 espresso martinis, I won't be able to move from bed for 2 days
That's it.
because it's so different with how your dopamines are and how your hormones are at those stages in your life. And it's just learning how to feel pain.
Yeah. Well, I
And
can't drink alcohol at all. I can't, my body, it can't process it.
yeah, my
There's
body
a
really
lot of
rejects it.
autists and ADHDers. We are highly sensitive, and
Mm,
we maybe used substances, people, behaviors, whatever,
yeah,
to numb ourselves, to
yeah.
self-soothe. That's what we're trying to do, is self-soothe,
Yeah,
to
I
just cope.
also badly do it with food as well. I
Yeah,
either completely overeat or starve myself for a week,
yeah,
and I don't have like a medium, but also I travel a lot. So it doesn't really help. There used to be times where if I was having travel days, I'd be like, I'll take this as a fasting day. And now I'm like on a travel day, like in Marks and Spencer's in the airport, like, okay, let's fill up the bag.
better than the on the plane food, which is definitely not recommended.
No, I don't. I've got food poisoning a few times from aeroplane food, so I'm a
Oh
little bit
gosh,
scared of it now. I just always ask for the kosher option. It's much better.
yeah. So, where do you think you are in your life? What's next for you? What have you got coming up? Where are you? What areas are you going into? What's changing?
Well, I've had a bit of like a standstill break from things to try and get my energy up a bit.
Yeah,
Um, because I've been working on a project before doing Below Deck. It was my plan. And this year I've had time to actually get it into writing, get it into a proposal, and things are actually moving on it. So I'm hoping that that will go through because that will start to really help people. I'm also working on my nutrition package as well. That is
yeah,
for gut health for ADHD neurodivergent people, and also it's a diet plan as well for this hopefully easy step by step and not too expensive for people
yeah,
because everything's so bloody expensive these days.
yeah.
But yeah, I know. Yeah, I've got a few things in the making for sure, but I'm not allowed to say anything yet because I'm under
No, I'm
NDA.
sure. I'm sure.
I've got a really big NDA on me right now, so I gotta be
Yeah.
quiet.
No, no, let's not go there then. Let's not tempt it. But it sounds like, even though you say, you're still in therapy and whatever, but that for me, that's a bit like having a coach. I have a coach.
Yeah,
I've done tons of therapy over the years, but working with a coach for me has been completely transformational, because for me, the therapy, unless you've got a really good one, focuses a lot on the past. And for me, it's about the present and the
yeah,
future, in terms of who do I want to become. Yes, I have certain limitations, but I am capable of so much more, like you, than that old me would have told me that I was capable of. And that's what I get from working with a great coach, which is,
yeah.
sky's the limit.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's what my therapist is, though. Like, she's not just a therapist, she's a coach as well. Because
Fantastic.
when I first got the call for Below Deck, I messaged her, sent it over to her, and I was like, do you think I'm ready? And she was like, how long do you have? I was like, 5 months. And she was like, we'll get you ready.
Great.
You know? So
Fantastic. And
yeah,
that's it, isn't it? Is I think for us who are neurodivergent, I think it's really important to have somebody that you trust, that can guide, that can be in your corner.
and it just makes me think of all these other people going to the doctors who are neurodivergent, just like, here's a pill, here's a pill. And it's just like,
Yeah,
or just explain properly
yeah,
what it is and be like,
that's it.
congratulations,
Yeah,
you're really artistic, you're really creative, you're a
that's it.
sparky character, you
Yeah,
fill a room with light. Congratulations, you're neurodivergent.
yeah.
Instead of take a pill,
I know
you're depressed.
many people, especially females, have been pathologized, have been, taken down the route wrongly of mental ill health, when actually a lot of it has been ADHD, ADHD, and autism. It's appalling, really, but it's happened to so many of us. I saw
Yeah.
exactly the same with my daughter, exactly the same, wanting her. She's tried every thing for depression. It wasn't depression. It was her autism. It was
Yeah.
her ADHD.
Yeah.
It happens so many times.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad. Obviously, you've got to that point where, because you know yourself,
Yeah.
know that it's not those things. It is about managing your energy, and hopefully not getting to that place of burnout so much. I
Yeah.
believe we don't have to get to burnout, but it does mean we have to practice really incredible self-care skills.
Self-care and
We have to
boundaries
get
as well.
really good at that
Saying
self.
no.
Exactly that. Exactly that. And eating and sleeping and drinking water and, exercising and all of that stuff. That's basic self-care stuff, number one.
I almost want to send it to you so you can put it on this. I might have to like scribble some things out so you guys can't see plans. But I sent my weekly rota to my personal assistant this morning because it's Monday,
Yeah.
and it was literally like probably like 20 hours on each day of work that I have to do and everything that needs to get done, like back-to-back meetings and everything at the surf retreat here, and balancing it all. And then it would be like 3:15, drink some water, Tzarina. And then I'll get to like later, like, have you eaten yet? Eat some food,
Exactly.
Tzarina. And then on the Wednesday, it's like, get in the shower. I know you haven't showered for 3 days. And
Yeah.
I had to send it to my personal assistant, and she was like, like,
That's a lot. That is a lot of hours. So, if any of the listeners want to connect with you or find you, reach out to you, how do they do that? Where are you at?
so I normally do everything through Instagram at Chef Tzarina. That's my favorite platform. Try TikTok, too busy for me, couldn't figure it out.
No.
But Instagram is my niche. So
Chef
yeah,
Tzarina, and that's Tzarina with a TZ.
it's Tzarina.
Yeah, Chef Tzarina, fantastic. And any of our listeners that want to catch you at Below Deck, so it was Below Deck series 2 and 3, wasn't it?
Yes, it was. It's actually airing on E4 at the moment, my first season,
Great,
which is quite exciting.
fantastic.
I look
And
so young
I
now.
know. And anyone that's interested in learning more about the neurodiversity coaching, you can go to my website, which is jannicejones.com, which is Jannice with a double N. So jannicejones.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn, which is Jannice Jones. Remember, it's with the double N. Anyway, it's been absolutely lovely, Tzarina, talking to you. And
Thank
I'll
you
make
for having
sure
me.
that in the show notes, all your details and everything, in case people do want to connect with you. But the
Yeah.
very best of luck. You're going to do so much good in the world. I know you are. And
I
thank you
really
for
hope
coming on.
so. I
Thank you for
really
coming
hope
on.
so.
It's been great. Take care.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.